Before I fully jump in, this will be a spoiler-free video, so there will be no spoilers going into this video. Awesome, phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie though, I was really hoping that this was gonna be the very first book that I like live reacted to, except for I knew ahead of time it was gonna be something that was some trial and error. I erred a lot during that first attempt because I was reading on the Libby app and I don't have like a second way to read or a second way to film. I only have my phone. And so I was kind of ping ponging and it kind of just ended up messy. And so she was a rough draft. She was a lot of error. We'll come back and do that again eventually. But that was like she was not going to be my very first live react. It was too messy. That being said, I'm still at least going to try and give a review that is spoiler free. I don't have a physical copy. You can be my stand-in for a moment because I'm still sick. Let's talk about the book that I just finished called Don't Let the Forest In. Don't Let the Forest In is about a boy by the name of Andrew, his twin sister Dove, and their best friend Thomas. All three attend a rich private school in which they're coming into their new year. However, at the end of last year, there seems to have been something that happened that Andrew was like not privy to or he just doesn't remember, and it carries over a lot of tension into the new year. And he's really struggling to figure out why Dove and Thomas are fighting, why they aren't talking to each other. Not only that, but Thomas is being investigated by the police because his parents are mysteriously missing. And there's just he like Thomas is lying to Andrew and he's stressed and he's trying to figure out why he like no one's talking to each other anymore and the group doesn't feel right. He's just really anxious and feels very lonely going into this new year. To add to it, the school is surrounded by a forest, which seemed to have been pretty open to the students as so long as they were accompanied by a teacher. But a lot of kids tend to hang out in there in general. And now all of a sudden, there is a big fence blocking the students from going into the forest, and they are now banned. We figure out pretty early on that Andrew really enjoys writing stories that are kind of like dark horror, twisted fantasy with the monsters and things of that nature. And Thomas will actually draw those stories and monsters. And somehow the monsters seems to have come to life and they've been hiding in the woods and they started targeting the boys and the people at the school. And so they kind of get together to figure out why on earth this is happening and how to stop them. Not only that though, but Andrew's obviously dealing with a lot of stuff and a lot of stress and is trying to still figure out why Thomas is still lying to him about certain things and why Dove and Thomas are no longer speaking. And he's just trying to get through the basics. He's just trying to survive his senior year of high school. The overall vibe of this book was definitely kind of dark, twisty forest fantasy type vibes, like more monsters. It wasn't like I need to leave my nightlight on type horror, but like it was just a good type of like right before Halloween type thing to read if you just want a kind of a dark little monster type read. Um Overall, I really enjoyed the writing style. I feel like some people might come into the writing style and look at it and feel like it's a bit pretentious, but the more you're reading about the boys in particular and how they interact with each other and how they feel and the whole like twisty I'm a monster, would you still love me type vibes and their connection to the forest and the monsters that they themselves have created, like the writing style really kind of welds it in together and weaves it over, and it makes it more interesting watching them process everything, and it really does kind of tie the boys together. I feel like the writing style in general makes you really get entwined with the boys and kind of just build with the vibe. Plot wise, for me, I was trying to figure out for so long. I was like, why is this happening? Right? Obviously, that's the question for the entire book. But for me, I was consistently like, why? I could not necessarily pinpoint why it was happening for so long. It was closer to the end when I finally kind of had an idea where I was like, is this happening because of like so and so? And I was kind of getting that vibe, and then all right as I was started thinking about that, like in that general, like I had like thought about it a little bit toward the beginning of when it was starting to happen, but it didn't even cross my mind until closer to the end again, and I was like, what? I bet you it has to do with so and so, and then we finally kind of get to that point, and I start seeing the little dots connect, and I'm like, oh, I was like, I was wrong, but I was kind of I was on the pathway. I was wrong, but I was on the pathway, and it all kind of started clicking. Overall, I really enjoyed watching Andrew kind of spiral. You get to watch both boys spiral, but you mainly get to see it from the view of Andrew. And so watching him kind of spiral a little bit and put everything together and kind of realize what actually happened at the end of last year and why everyone has been looking at him weird and what all is happening and just figuring out the whole monster thing. It was really intriguing. I gave this book a 3.75. Listen, I was really looking forward to this book. I actually listened to it in audiobook because when I read it on my Libby app, but for whatever reason, my Libby app didn't have like the physical ebook. It just had the audiobook. And I was like, okay, my library did for anyway. And so I requested the audiobook like way back in August and I only just got it like this week. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Of course, but since I've done it, they've now actually given you the ebook too, but I'm just like it was too late for that. I've already been in line for so long. So I listened to the audiobook and the audiobook was definitely enjoyable. It was definitely one I had to read. I had to listen in like 1.75 or 2 speed because the narrator felt a little bit slow. But overall, like the voicing and everything was really good. I enjoyed it. Gave it a 3.75. It was something I was reading too. This was the first book coming back from like a break. I have been sick for the past like 2.5 weeks. And so it was that type of sick where like I couldn't do anything creative. I tried to pick up, what was I trying to read? I was trying to read Blood Over Brighthaven, and I I could not, like my brain could not digest anything. I tried to read, couldn't read, so I had to hold off that request and request it for another time. I tried to write. I couldn't even like watch TV, like anything new. I was just like my brain couldn't do it, and so I was really glad. I was worried coming in that like I was like I really hope this book isn't going to be like too much for my brain to like handle, but like I feel better, and this was a good book definitely to get me back in the groove because now I'm definitely like ready. I'm like, all right, let's find the next book. So anyway, overall I enjoyed it. If you enjoy kind of a little bit of dark twisty horror type vibes, I definitely recommend it. It was a quick read. Like it didn't take you. In all honesty, I could have definitely done it like in one sitting if I wasn't working, but I was working, so I was kind of back and forth a lot, and I was being paranoid. Um, and so overall, it's a quick read. It was enjoyable. Dark twisty horror. This is definitely something like if you're like a mood reader, the fall like right before Halloween would definitely be a good time to read it. But yeah, overall, it was enjoyable. I really enjoyed watching the boys in there. Let me tell you, I didn't mention this earlier. I heavily enjoy how like weirdly, slightly toxically obsessed the boys are with each other. It is so it's divine. I love it. Um, but yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I'm really glad that this is what I read coming back out of my reading slump because like I'd been really expecting it. I've been really like waiting for it for so long, and I was like worried. I was like, oh, please don't let this put me back in another reading slump. But no, we're good. I'm excited to keep on reading. But yeah, I was definitely hoping that this was going to be one of the first books that I live reacted to, and I did well like the first half, but then I kind of just I focused in a little too much, and then just flipping back and forth between recording and reading was just it became too much of a thing, and I just wanted to keep focusing, and so it was a problem. It's fine. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to make it better for an actual proper live react for the future. But overall, if you read the book, let me know if you also enjoyed it or if you thought it was horrid or whatnot, or if you have any questions before reading it. Feel free to ask. If you're gonna comment certain things, if it's a spoiler, please make sure you actually put that there's a spoiler ahead of time so people don't accidentally spoil it for themselves. Ideally, I want to keep these specific videos spoiler free, and then my live reacts will contain spoilers and things of that nature. Um, and also because again, I'm new to this and we're totally winging everything. And there's like as I'm watching things, I'm noticing things that I'm going to change this for the future. I'm going to change this for the future. I'm going to do this differently. If you definitely have any comments, questions, concerns, advice on how you would prefer to see these videos in the future, also let me know. But yeah, overall, do better than me. Stay hydrated. Find another good book. And until next time.